Good evening.
Hello, welcome one and all to the British Bear Show. What a difference 7 days makes, Jason. You know, this time last week we were all positive and rosy and thinking, we were thinking the tide has turned and it's going to be our time at Lambeau Field, and then we finally get to the game itself, and what a load of bollocks, as it said in the title. How are you, my friend Jason? How are you, brother?
I'm all right. I don't need to be on suicide watch, but the show site says it all, doesn't it? What a load of bollocks. Wow. Just, yeah. I mean, I don't know, Shorty was right, wasn't he? We have to admit that his gut wasn't wrong. But I think we were right to be optimistic, weren't we? Because we were on a roll, we were on the up. Everything was on the up. But man, this monkey on our back of fucking Green Bay, just, yeah.
I know, mate. I know. I've been like that all like, it feels like like the best friends like passed away, or like the favorite dog's gone or ran away or something. It just it would have sort of like the first time I was really sort of excited about the Bears playing at Lambeau Field. I really thought we had a good chance, and we'll get into the game now. So what we'll do is we'll start off with the offense. The offense really, I think basically one of the reasons why the offense was so poor was due to the offensive line play. Fields got sacked 5 times. Like you said, Jason, before the show, like he got pressured 50% of the time with his dropbacks. And there's no quarterback in the league can step back and have time to get a pass out when you're getting a guy straight in your face. Like Trevor Jenkins, like he said in social media, that was like his worst game of the season. And man, it was his worst game of the season. He were absolutely terrible. Fields were under 200 yards again passing. He were 11 of 16 for 148 yards. We couldn't get the rushing game going, so they were just stuffing our middle of our line. And also as well, that we only seem to sort of have DJ Moore and Cole Kmet open. I don't know where the other wide receivers are going. So, yeah, that's my sort of feeling about the offense. What were your sort of feeling after the game and when you were watching it?
Oh, what were my feelings? Where do I start? Very true. You nailed it for the first comment. One of the things that stand out that all the other podcasts I've seen so far have said is the O-line play was terrible all the way around. I think all like 5 sacks. As we said, 50% dropbacks. He was getting pressured. They stopped our run game. I take notes during the game, and I was like, "There's been no long shots." But then when you're half the time, if you're stepping back at the end of your drop, you've got a defender in your face. He's not going to get a long pass off, which is why I think there should be more, shallow crosses, quick slants, just a little dump off pass. So if they bring everyone, if he spots a gap, he can just get rid of it. But yeah, I just that was just really poor from the offense. And the play calling, of course. I'm down now with Cliff. I'm down with all the other sort of people who are saying the Getsy's got to go. It's like nine running plays in a row. Just no trickery. That's what I've really found as well, is we just play simple, straight football. No trick plays, no misdirection, nothing fancy. Nothing to keep defenders on their toes. So they know we're going to either run it out the gut. There was no rollouts, not much of that, getting him outside the pocket. So again, not playing to his strengths. And I know that we said earlier, and I said earlier, controversial opinion, that if they kept winning, then maybe there was a case for them all coming back. But I just think Yeah, that like we said in the pre-show, that to me now all bets are off. I think everything's available. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be. I think I will be surprised if Getsy stays, because I think he's got to go. And I think the lack of progress on the offense is screaming that out in massive bold letters that he's got to go. He's in over his depth. He's had 2 years. We were being patient, and now, that's enough. You can't go backwards again, because I would say I was positive previously because it looked like he was getting better. He's doing some stuff. I think, that's quite good. Several times he made some good calls. He'd done a bit of trickery. Things were going, well, you think, he's using this offense well. You can't keep going backwards. We've got to keep going forwards. And I just think, we need someone in who's going to run that offense better. And now, I have to say that with that game as well, not just the offensive calls, but also just in terms of Flus, I would not be surprised if he goes, but we can talk about the future after we've covered the game. But shortly, sure. You just need to
start a childbirth campaign. I mean, regarding the offense as well, I just think as well, I think that because the offensive line play was so poor, that really didn't help the play calling as well. But it's like you said, Jason, it was so over conservative. And the previous game against the Falcons, every quarter, we were sort of trying to do a long pass. We were stretching the field vertical. And it was sort of ironic that near the end of the game, that he tried to do a screen pass when we needed
22 yards
or something ridiculous like that. 22 yards, sorry, yeah. And I think as well, it sort of showed as well the lack of depth we've got in the skill positions, especially the wide receivers. Because basically, we had DJ Moore and we had Cole Kmet, and basically the other guys just didn't show up. And I know that Green Bay played a lot of zone, which Fields does seem to have a bit of trouble reading when it's zone defenses. But I just thought the game plan. I don't even know what the game plan was. I don't understand what they try to do. I mean, basically, our offense is a running offense, and I think as soon as our offensive line were getting pushed back, Getsy just didn't have any sort of answers to an alternative to just running the ball and getting that running game. And also, my biggest gripe, and you know what I'm going to say is, why are we always in shotgun? Why are we 99% of the time in shotgun? Because it cuts down so much options what you can do as a play caller, especially when it's short yardage. Like that time we had to get 1 yard to get a first down, and Fields started in a shotgun, and then he ran up to the center, and we all just got that. Do you know what I mean? And that should be a given. With the size of Fields and the offensive line should able to push the opposition at least 1 yard. You know what I mean? But I just thought it was over conservative. They didn't seem to have any sort of intensity at all. It's like you just sort of mentioned, there were no sort of imagination to the play calling. There were not, if we were struggling, then at least try something a bit dynamic, because we had nothing to lose. And I just don't know. It just felt like Green Bay, obviously, their players knew that they're playing for a playoff place, and some of our guys, I don't know if they'd switched off or they were planning the holidays, what we're going to do next week. But it just felt like there was a lack of intensity between the two teams. And it was just, when it scored touchdown, DJ Moore, I can't even remember him really being targeted that much in the second half. I know he got over 64 yards, but he only had 4 catches. And the second best of Cole Kmet with 3 catches, 41 yards, which is ludicrous, really. In today's sort of NFL, to have such low numbers. I mean, I think really it's. I'm with you, Jason. Really, I just can't see any value bringing Getsy back. And it also annoys me as well when people go, "Oh well, if you bring another offensive coordinator, Fields has got to learn a new system." The system works. That offensive system is used by quite a lot of teams. So a good offensive-minded offensive coordinator should be able to run that scheme because it's a successful scheme. And the trouble with the Bears is that we've had a combination of poor play calling, and also as well, a lot of the players have to hold on as well, doing poor execution because, throughout the season, that's been a problem as well, where players haven't been running the right routes or they've been missing blocks. I think it's going to be it's got to change, mate, because it's just so up and down. There's no consistency with the offense at all, and it's sort of like the side of the team which is really holding the team back. You know what I mean? Because obviously the defense stepped up over the last sort of month and a half, and the offense just hasn't followed route. So yeah, it's just it was so disappointing, mate. It was so disappointing, and yeah, I was literally feeling physically sick by the end of the game. So I was so annoyed and so sort of like angry, and I'm quite a chilled out dude, mate. But I like if I had something to kick, I wanted to kick something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So have you got any more thoughts about the offense at all, Jason?
Yeah, it kind of feeds into that what you were saying before about the calling is that Fields didn't have a passing attempt in the third quarter, entire quarter, not one pass. So, and it wasn't.
No, wow, yeah.
No, it was, and there wasn't a high possession game. Sorry, there wasn't lots of drives. It wasn't like big chunk plays all the time. So we're both run heavy teams. So there was only I think there was six. We had six. They had 7 drives. I think it was. So that possessions wise, there wasn't a lot of changing over. So yeah, we didn't throw a pass in the third quarter. It's like just madness.
That's like going back to like 1930s football when they should have just got the old T formation out and stuff like that, because that's unheard of. And how can you have any sort of play action passes, or how can you sort of run anything dynamic when you're just running the ball? It's sort of like gets to this when he just goes like from one extreme to the other. It's sort of like it's like the idiot's way out. Oh well, we're not really passing, so I'll just try and run the ball. Oh no, well that ain't working, so I'll just try and do the opposite rather than sort of incorporating a mixture of the both. And I was so disappointed. And I don't think as well. I don't think people can put that performance all on the field at all, because if you're stepping back and every time you look up, you've got like a defender in your face. No quarterback, regardless if you're Joe Montana, Patrick Mahomes, whoever, you can't, if you haven't got a little bit of time in the pocket, you can't get your passes out because you've got 2 guys who are like 6'4", 300 pounds, landing on top of you. So I'm definitely with you, Jason, about Getz. I've seen far too much, and I just don't see him getting any better. I just, like the first show we were saying, well, maybe, he's learning and maybe it's all coming together. Well, I personally think this is about as best as he's ever going to get. I think really the Bears deserve better than that. We deserve a better. He's not even mediocre. He's worse than mediocre as a play calling. And as a club and as a team, we and especially the offensive players like Fields, we deserve better than that. You know what I mean? So I think the offense really is going to be like probably one of the biggest important things to sort out in the off season. You know what I mean? We seem to be getting the defense, get the defense better, but I really feel like the offense really needs a lot of work doing to it. So I don't know if you want to give your shout outs to the chat, Jason.
Yep. Okay. Swifties there in the house as usual. Thanks for joining us. Thanks everyone for joining us. So I'll just go through who's in here. So we got Foster as usual. Shorty's obviously running the show. Cliff. Where are you? Cliff in the huddle. Chicago. That's Walt. Good to see you, mate. BCP. God, you're everywhere. Ron Winarski. Bear down, brother. That's another one. Good to see you. Ralph Love. Thanks for joining us, guys. It's good to see you. Converted Bears back. I see you again. Good to see you. And again, this is we said before. Mark Kazak. Hey, Mark. Hello. So those are the guys that are in here at the moment. Are the ones that I've seen in chat. Everyone else is joining us. Welcome. We've said before, this is a show with a British accent for British Bears fans. Hopefully, a more sociable time for us across the pond than our American friends who seem to be on in the middle of the night, which is understandable when they're 6 hours behind in Chicago. So we want to know, if anyone's in the chat and is here and you're a British Bears fan, let us know. Just say hello. Tell us where you are, how long you've been a Bears fan, whatever. Just maybe one day you can come on the show too and chat with us and everyone else just to talk about Bears, because that's basically what we all love doing, no matter how badly we perform on a weekend. So thanks for joining us.
I mean, one of the good things about doing shows like this is it's a bit like having a bit of therapy session. It feels like, because obviously, I don't really have anybody to talk about Bears, about the Chicago Bears over here, because all my mates are not really into the NFL and stuff like that. So it's like a nice bit of therapy when I get a chance to come up, do the shows. But let's move on to the defense. What were your thoughts about the defense now they play, Jason?
Well, the first thing to say, I know that the defense has been carrying the team while they've been improving, and you, on the face of it, you would look at it and think, well, they held Green Bay to 17. That's pretty good, but not once did they force a punt. Green Bay didn't punt one.
No,
not at all. They had 7 possessions. They scored on 3 of them. They missed 1 field goal. 2 of them were at the end of each half, and one of them was that, which I did actually enjoy. That was seeing them completely fuck that up. With the time at the end of the quarter, with the clock running. Firstly, the tight end didn't get out of bounds with the game to play before, and then the second one, Tyreek Stevenson pushed him backwards out of bounds, and that's the clock running, and that's the end of the half. So that made me laugh. But yeah, so there was and then the fumble. So that was their possessions. There was 3 scores, 1 missed field goal, 1 at the end of each half. Obviously, end of the game, they're just taking a knee, and then the 1 for the turnover. So we didn't force them to punt once, didn't get them off the field, which is really disappointing because we didn't seem to have that pressure. They're a well-drilled team. They're a good side. They've got a stable system. They've got a stable coach. They've been there a few years, and this is why they've been able to have these players come in. Everyone talks. They are the youngest team in the NFL, apparently. That's the difference, is that they've got a stable coaching staff, a stable system. They can come in and they know what they're going to run. The staff are on it. The coaches, the coordinators, they know what they're doing. They've got their plan. They know how to adjust. They're experienced. And that showed that made a difference to me. We didn't get enough pressure. That was disappointing. We were expecting more from that. The one sack we did get was pretty good from DeMarcus Walker. He just literally drove the tackle back into the QB, and you think, yeah, that's good play. But he kind of fades out at the end of the game. I don't think he's got. Because they won the time of possession. It was 31 minutes. Our defense was on the field, so that made a difference. Obviously, you need to try and get off the field, and they just couldn't. That was the problem. They just could not get off the field. We said that Fields has pressured 50% of the dropbacks. Love was 12%. So basically, 7 times out of 8 that he drops back into his passing, he's got as long as he likes to pick a pass. And when we play that zone all the time, which is again starting to piss me off, they just find holes in it. They run their routes. They know what they're doing. They find a hole, and they're just like that. The end of the play, or the end of was it the fourth quarter? We got them pinned back. 2 plays, they're in field goal range. It's like, Jesus, what are we doing? Because he did the old soft zone, and they just find holes in it. They know what they're doing. The trouble that Fields had problems when they were going man coverage on him, and they showed it in the coverage in the TV about the difference in his stats when it's coverage and man, and they didn't do the same. They didn't do the same to Love. They need to give him some man coverage, and hopefully just slow down. Don't let someone get open. If you can keep your coverage tight, then it gives your guys up front more time to get home, and that just didn't happen. So, it's just a really, really a poor game on the defensive side. Again, I noticed they had a lineman, Dexter it was this time, I think, dropping back into coverage. Words fail me. If you've got players, players are good at what they do. But if they are picked as like a defensive lineman or a linebacker or in the secondary for a reason. Because of how fast they can move, their coverage skills, all these things, all the stuff they've learned, usually most of their footballing life, they've playing this position. Why would you, very top level, then make them do something else? So it baffles me. I don't understand. I know some might say, well, that's putting a wrinkle in, that's confusing them, giving them a look, and they're not expecting it. Well, they might not expect it, but they know that once they spot it, they've probably, I can just pass it a few yards further than I would have, and he's never going to catch it because he's not a linebacker. He's not Tremaine Edmonds. He's not one of our cornerbacks.
And the worst thing is, though, it's sort of like it's not the first time we tried to do it this season. And when we did it before, against Cleveland, and their tight end scored. So, I mean, my sort of viewpoint about the defense is very similar to the points you brought up, Jason. I mean, a lack of pressure on the quarterback. Love looked like he, at the end of the game, looked like he had like a pristine, freshly washed uniform. I don't think he actually ever ended up on his back throughout the game. I mean, I don't know what happened to Sweat. I mean, he sort of had a real bad game. Their running game absolutely carved us up the middle, which I'm really surprised because obviously we're like, the best running defense in the league. And Aaron Jones, he got like 111 yards against us, and he was absolutely pounding the rock. Also, as well, I know he's the old man, but Eddie Jackson, mate, for fuck's sake, man. Come on.
Yeah,
Man up. Tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the goal. Yeah, he's like the backfield general, and he gets everybody in position. But you're a safety, mate. You have got to tackle, man up. You know what I mean? Man up and hit the guy. And I just think with the because I think it's something like 14 million. What'll be what he's owed next year or next season. Sorry. I just don't see his worth anymore, mate. To be honest with you, I think he had his heyday in 2018, but it's just one of the things I hate is when people bottle out contact. You're a professional NFL safety, mate. Your job is to tackle people. You know what I mean? And it's one of the things that just annoys me so much. But I thought Stevenson had a good game. I mean, he caused that fumble. And I think he's really sort of got better throughout the season. His rookie season, but the linebackers played all right. But they still let Aaron Jones run through him a few times. But it was just a lack of pressure, really. And also as well, it's like you mentioned, Jason, like the soft zones. We're giving them like a cushion of 10 or 15 yards for their wide receivers. And all them long passes were down the middle of the pitch. Well, who's supposed to be down the middle of the pitch? Eddie Jackson. Where are you, mate? What you doing? You know what I mean? So it was just a lack of intensity throughout the team, really. And, to say that, Eberflus, that's his strength as a defensive play caller, he just didn't call enough blitzes for me again. Everything was super, super conservative. Like it was the first game we played them. And it was so disappointing because of how they've been playing over the last sort of 6-7 weeks. It was like they reverted back to the start of the season. And it was just all the way through. I mean, I think actually after about a couple of minutes of the game actually started, I was thinking, we're not going to win this game. It just felt like they were really up for it. I know they were fighting for the playoff, place, but end of the day, it's a Bears and Packers game. It's the oldest rivalry in the NFL. If you're a Bears player and you can't get up for this game, then you should be playing for the Chicago Bears. Do you know what I mean? And I just think, I don't know if that's like how the coaches are with the players, that we don't sort of fire them up or whatever, but absolutely, it was such a sort of just flat, It was just so flat, the performance on defense. And it was just so fucking annoying. It was so annoying because we've seen them play so much better, and I thought, it's like I just said, I think like Eberflus really sort of chickened out by not sending more blitzes and trying to get pressure on Love, because that guy, man, he would have stood there like a statue and he would have picking us apart all the way through that game. You know what I mean? And it would have it was embarrassing. I was embarrassed really by that. But I know we had to let him get 17 points, but it was just like apart from that turnover, we just didn't show anything. We just didn't show like that sort of intensity and pressure what we need. On opposition quarterbacks. So yeah, I was very sort of peed up about the defense because they've been our strongest unit, and and they've been carrying our team for the last 6 weeks. And I know that not having Jalen Johnson, that probably had a massive effect on the defensive backs, because he's a Pro Bowler, and you could tell that. I don't know if that sort of made everyone's like a bit less confident because they got because he's like shutting down one side of the field. So I don't know if that sort of knocked a bit of confidence out the rest of the defensive backs. I thought the rookie who they put in to replace him had a really rough game and he ended up getting injured. But Smith. he looks like Smith, sorry, and he looks like like a little bit beyond him at the time. Yeah, he looks a bit out of his depth, but very very sort of disappointing really. But we've got a new segment to be sure, and this segment's called Jason's Stats Bomb. So I love to know.
Thanks for that, Shorty. Yes, it's my Jason's Stat Bomb. Maybe I know you loved it last time when I gave you that bit of little nugget that I found about only the first 100 yard receiver. But I think we've had some discussion before about penalties, haven't we? We know, everyone knows, don't they? There's only one team that hasn't had a single roughing the passer call all season, and that's us. I was fucking screaming at my television this weekend with that hit that was not called. It's disgraceful. When a guy has to go out of the game from an independent doctor who said, "Oh, that wasn't very good. He needs to come out of there." And they called it on commentary when it happened. The commentator said, "Well, that's the flag. They'll call that nothing." So yeah. So I started having a little look at some penalties. Oh God, that was a rabbit hole. I tell you, I wish I hadn't done that. But anyway, it's my stat bomb. It's the thing that hurts us is what I just said. So in terms of concession of penalties, i.e. the penalties that we give away, we are very average. We're right in the middle. The big thing that hurts us the most is that we have the fewest number of penalties given to us per game this season of any team. Just over 40. Yeah, no one has fewer penalties. No one's given fewer penalties than us. And I thought, is this a habit? Is what's going on with this? Right. So I only went back to last year. And last year we were fifth. Right, we had the fifth fewest penalties last season, and I thought, because how things go out average, don't they? Average out over time.
Yeah,
you need a large sample size, and I thought maybe we're just going back to the mean, like everyone does over the course of a few seasons. You get a few different results, but everyone kind of sits in the middle. So last year we had the fifth fewest penalties. The four teams that were above us in that score were the Chargers. So the Chargers, Ravens, Dolphins, and Rams had the fewer penalties than us last season, and we had the fifth fewest. This year, they've been given the fifth, sixth, eighth, and 20th most penalties. So they've gone flipped up the other way, and now we're still down at the bottom there. So we had the fewest penalties this season. Again, what we conceded was average. And the differential between teams as well, you can find out. I got this from a website called NFLpenalties.com. Which is appropriate.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then what they do is you can total up the yards gained and lost through penalties for the whole season, and we had the worst by a mile differential. So the number of yards you're losing per game when you add up the penalties you're given and the penalties that you give away, and of course we know that we have the least given to us. Okay, so our differential per game. Over the total of all the penalties given and received, we are losing 19 yards every game to penalties. If you add up what we get and what we give away. The team that benefited the most from penalties were the Jaguars, and they got 18.65 yards added per game in penalties when you total up what they gave away and what they received. So the difference between us, who got the least, and them who got the most, is nearly 40 yards a game. And it's the difference. It's like 10% of the Buffalo Bills offense. 10% of the Buffalo Bills offense is the difference between us and the Panthers in terms of penalties. Are you following this? There's a lot of I'm just babbling.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what that means was
you're making sense.
Okay, good. That's great. I'm glad to hear it. So the difference between what that means is, where's my bit of paper? I wrote it down. Okay, so if you add those yards, the differential between the worst and the best of the penalty differential, put my teeth in, is the difference between being in yards per game on offense first or seventh in the league, and the difference between being bottom of the league in offense and 26. So it makes a difference of about 6 teams in yardage. That's what we are suffering by the penalties that we're not being given. Yeah, I think that's probably enough for my stat bomb of the week. But honestly, when you start digging into penalties, it's a bit mad and a bit obsessive.
You know what, Jason? That's fascinating, mate. Because obviously that makes a massive difference in the game. That amount of yardage what we're losing, because of the penalties. And especially if you're in a tight game, or and it's like it's like a bit of a balanced game, and and I just cannot understand for the life of me how Fields not had a personal foul penalty for him. Because that guy, it's just ridiculous. And I don't know if it's because he's like a great runner. So like the referees are treating him a bit different to say somebody who's a bit more of a pocket passer. But
I got something for that. Because that's again, that's a common thing that people say, well, he's a running quarterback. So once he's off, then people treat him as such. Well, I can think of a certain guy who plays at Buffalo who people consider a running quarterback. He's had 6 roughing the passer calls this season. So go figure.
Yeah. And I really think as well that that Eberflus as well at the time when Justin Fields got hit on that play, he really should have instantly gone up to the referees and really started, getting into their face about it. He did do it, but it was like about 5 or 10 minutes after the play, which he loses that sort of impact if he goes up to the guy. I mean, that sort of hit could have really hurt the guy. He could have had a really bad concussion. He could have broke his neck. And also as well, it was just sort of weird how he were out for one play and then he were back in again, and so I don't really understand the procedure. Is that the right procedure the Bears went through, or did they just do it so they could get him back into the game quicker? So it was sort of like near the end of the game itself. But yeah, I mean, we just don't seem to get any luck with penalties at all, and I don't know. Right. I can't put the finger on why, but I mean, I do know that across the league itself, the refereeing has been absolutely terrible this year, and it seems to be getting worse and worse. And you can't believe that the most profitable league in the world, which is the NFL as a sporting league, has part-time referees. I mean, so these guys are lawyers or whatever they are. So once the football season's finished, they'll probably just go back to the normal jobs. And surely they could give them a nice wage. And off-season, they could either be training up themselves or training the next sort of generation of referees. Because the standard of refereeing is absolutely terrible, especially with the technology what we've got as well, what they can use as well. It seems to be so bizarre that so many players are getting missed or really poorly called. And I know the game's a lot quicker, but it shows it. Don't, brother.
Makes me
don't
fucking
do
sick.
it. Don't do it to us, Dan. Really
because now you've done it, yeah. Because look at that. You see, right? So that's people. I saw some comments because I was watching. I watched some other podcasts and see some clips and stuff.
Sure.
And you get all these fucking Green Bay fans going on there. Well, what's he supposed to do? Become invisible? You watch that from the behind the goal, the end zone angle. There, look, right. So just before that moment, Fields gets hit, his knee is on the floor. Now I know that if he's on his way, something can happen about it. But you can see clearly he's made absolutely no fucking attempt to try and avoid harm to the quarterback. You can see he's looked right at him and then he's lowered his shoulder into where his head's going to be. Yeah. So any fucking Packers fan coming on here saying that no, he's not. Look at him. He's deliberately aiming his shoulder at his fucking head. So this boils my piss, man, when this fucking happens because it's just so deliberate. It's so fucking deliberate. And look, again, this is like I say, if it's in the middle of the season, that could have put him out for the rest of the season. And they talk about the NFL talks about protecting players and all this stuff, and all these law changes. You're going to change the law. You need to fucking apply it to make sure these young men don't get hurt. If I was Justin Fields or Justin Fields' family, I'd be already compiling a set of clips and file to hand to a fucking lawyer when he starts getting problems. Because this is honestly, and I'm getting angry now because this is what it really fucking grinds my gears. That they say they want to protect the players, they need to enforce the law. It's for shoulder contact to head. It's an illegal hit. That's right in the rule book. Says Walt. It's right. Yeah. It clearly is. And for me, it's like I remember I used to I refereed soccer. I played soccer for a long time. In between NFL, Geez, I wish American football. Yeah, that's it. Life, yeah. So when I finished playing, I started refereeing. So and I started to you have to learn about the laws and protecting players and all the rest of it. And the thing is, you get players trying to explain themselves. When I blew up for a free kick, I give a yellow card because they've gone diving in. And they'll say, well, I never touched him. It said it doesn't matter. You've endangered that player because you're off the ground. You're out of control. Or you see a player. If a player gets hurt, then you've obviously not done enough as the other player to protect them. So if a guy's gone out and been called out of the game, Fields was called out of the game by an independent doctor that saw it and went, well, we need to check him. That means that there's been foul play because someone has done something not to. I know that sometimes contact happens. It could have been a perfectly legal tackle and they end up going backwards and hitting their head, but that clearly wasn't. And to go back, you started me off now, but to talk about another one that, again, I really noticed this one was to go back to the Cleveland game, the Hail Mary at the end of the first half when Fields launched it and he got fucking taken out and there was no flag. The next week, funny odd thing, the Packers played Carolina Panthers and it was about, I think it was 6:40 on the clock left in the first half and exactly the same play because they showed it, the TV cameras are always placed in the same parts of the field. It was exactly the same. They're looking from the back of the defender, Love throws the ball, 2 steps, bang, he's hit, flag appears. And if I had access to that tape, I would put them side by side. I'd have those 2 clips running side by side, and it looked exactly the same. And one of them was called, and one of them wasn't. Now, I don't want to start getting into conspiracy theories and put my tinfoil hat on, but when we got the fewest calls in yardage per game this year, and the same again previous year, something started to stink. And it just started to get on my nerves. But yeah, I was going to stop blood vessel.
No. I mean, all the points you made, mate, are completely valid. I mean, I just think it's because Fields is such an athletic guy, and he's such a great runner that I think the referees forget that he's the quarterback. And the worst is as well is, like, I've seen some Packer comments as well going, well, you know, he slides at the last second.
He slides too late.
Well, not on that play, mate. You know, that's it. Yeah, he slides too late. Well, that be all. If he slides, all you got to do is touch the guy down. You know, and then the player's dead, and that's it. You'd have to go in and also turning your head back as well, so you can't see which, you know,
lowering your shoulder. You're out of control. You're deliberately aiming your shoulder.
You're out of control. And I don't know. It'd just be so interesting to sort of. I know what the Bears should do as well, and I think they actually do this. They should actually send the NFL to, you know, the NFL officers in New York. They should send them all the clips of the no calls. And the service is getting ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because just all them stats you've gone through, it just seems weird.
Yeah.
It just seems so weird. And I'm not into conspiracy theories and all that rubbish, but I think a lot of it's to do with that referees see quarterbacks still like the was like 20, 30 years ago, where they were just, you know, drop back passes, statues in the pocket. Well, you know, that's changed now. The new breed of quarterback, a lot of them are dual-purpose quarterbacks. You know, they can run and they can pass as well. And you've got to protect these guys, man. I mean, some of the hits he's took this year, I mean, I know his injury from a hit, how he fell back from a tackle, but some of the hits he took last year, and actually, all the hits he's took actually since he's been playing for the Bears. I mean, the first game he played for the Bears against the Cleveland Browns, he got absolutely hammered. And some of them hits were so late, it were ridiculous. And I don't know if it's, I'm not, you know, I just think it's down to Fields being a great athlete and the referee just saying, oh, well, he can take it because he's like a good runner. And that's not good enough anymore, really. No. And I do really feel like the Bears really need to bring that up. And this is another one as well, with Cole Kmet, which you mentioned as well.
We mentioned this one too, didn't we? In the pre-game, because I talked about this at the time. I was watching it, and immediately I went, "Well, that's helmet to helmet. The guy's vulnerable. He's looking over his shoulder." And before, you know, back in the old days, like the 80s, they would have cut him in half. You know, Gary Fenwick would have absolutely crippled a tight end doing that. He would have cut him into two, right? Which was that was the time. At the time, that's how we played football. But this again was helmet to helmet, because the guy, and he's vulnerable. He's come round, and Cole Kmet is a big lad. To just put, you know, to take it, because he was not ready for that hit, because he was looking over his shoulder, got the ball, and then as he turns, boom, there's a helmet and hit him in the head. And I thought, oh, that's dodgy. That was helmet to helmet. Are they going to call that? And then a few after that, they cut to the studio on Sky Sports, and Phoebe Schecter's there saying, "Oh, look how the game's changed. Look, what a good play that was by the defender, because he didn't really, you know, hurt him. He just pushed him." I thought, are you watching the same fucking game as me? So It was on a vulnerable player who's turning around.
I mean, they made the excuse like he went in with his shoulder, you know, went in with his hands like that. But going like that, he still made contact with the head. He still made contact with his helmet, with Kmet's helmet. So regardless of what position your arm's in, it's leading with the head. You know what I mean? It's like you said, Jason, Kmet's a big unit, man. And for him to go down like that, you know, you could tell it was a high hit, and it's just the inconsistency with the referee. And I think it's really ruining the sport, I think, to a point, because it's like you say, some teams seem to get away with a lot of things where other teams don't. And I think, I mean, I don't believe in conspiracies and I don't believe inside jobs, but there just seems to need to be a lot more sort of evenness with the refereeing standard, because you seem to get some crews who are absolutely terrible. Like, you know, and it's happened not just to us, like Detroit, where they had that farce when they were playing against the Dallas Cowboys right at the end of the game. I mean, what the fuck are that about, man? And
Yeah.
it's just like, if you can't trust the referees to sort of, put the law out how it should be, then it's just going to make the game more and more sloppy, and it's just going to turn people off watching it, because people are going to start thinking, oh, is this all a scam now, and
Mm.
is it worth watching? And also as well, it's the players' safety as well. These guys, the average sort of NFL career is like what, 4 years, 3 years, and if you get like a real bad concussion, which could like lead to you being sort of receptive to getting a lot of concussions in the future, well, that could be the end of your career. Do you know what I mean? Because at some point you got to think, I can't keep playing because I could, in 20 years' time, this could really affect my health.
Yeah.
So I really think the referee's got to step up. I think the league needs to sort of step up the refereeing, and it's just a sad thing to see really. And I just don't understand how come it's got so bad. I know the game's a lot quicker, but at the end of the day, it's still the same game. And a lot of things have changed. It's like you said, Jason, in the 80s, like people like Ronnie Lott, we would have been good. Yeah, that's an awesome hit. But obviously they changed it now for a reason, because people are getting hurt.
It's understandable.
And we all want to see the stars play. So like, I can understand the rule changing, but it's got to be enforced evenly through the league. And it just don't feel like it's being done. It don't feel like every crew's on the same level. And it's so disappointing, man. And that was one of the things that sort of pissed me off through the season is the standard of refereeing throughout the league, and especially for the Bears, and especially for Justin Fields as well. Because what more can they? I mean, I've seen him. I can't remember which game it was, but I mean, I can remember he got absolutely hammered, and he actually went to the referee and went, "Are you going to do something about this?" And the referee just sort of shrugged him off.
Yeah, that was the Cleveland game. That was the Hail Mary. That was the Hail Mary at the end of the first half in the Cleveland game. Because I remember seeing it, because the guy laid him out. Roshan Johnson was in the shot, and he was like going, what the hell? And then Fields got on, went to the referee, and he's just saying to him, well, he obviously explained why I didn't think it was a late hit. So, oh dear. Oh dear.
So
I want to get off this subject, because again, I can feel it rising in my stomach. It makes me so mad. I want to switch entirely.
Well, I think as well.
I'm going to switch entirely to something that happened this season, right? And I want a massive shout out to this player, who I think it is a disgrace that he's not in the Pro Bowl. He's not a Pro Bowler. Is TJ Edwards? TJ Edwards, 153 tackles this season, third highest in the season, and he's passed Brian Urlacher in that position as for the most tackles in a Bear by a season. So well done to him. I think it's a disgrace that he's not in the Pro Bowl, because he's forced fumbles, interceptions.
Yeah. I think as well. I think DJ Moore. I think he would deserved a Pro Bowl place as well. And I mean, I know a lot of that sort of goes if you have a winning team. If you're in a team what's losing, then you don't get as many players put forward to the Pro Bowl. But like, DJ Moore's had an outstanding season. TJ Edwards has had an absolutely amazing season. And he just, like you say, when you look at him compared to the other linebackers in the league, he's like top 3 for tackling. So how can he not be in the in the Pro Bowl? I mean, I know the Pro Bowl means, I mean, it's not even a game anymore now, is it? They just play like stupid little games in shorts. So I know the actual event itself is being watered down, but it's still a privilege to be called up to be a Pro Bowl player, and it's going to help your career, and it's going to help you get more money. TJ Edwards, and I were exactly the same. Jason, I was thinking, how come this guy ain't being picked up, and how come this guy ain't been going to the Pro Bowl? But maybe because it's the Bears records that we didn't have a winning season, and that might go against the voting, but. Right, so what we're going to do is, because obviously we've got no game to sort of preview.
We haven't.
Let's move on to what could happen in the off season. Oh no, what we'll do is first actually. Sorry, Jason. What we'll do first is we'll sort of have a little quick review of the season so far. I mean, my thoughts of the season was that we started off horrendously. We didn't seem to be ready for the games. We lost the first 4 games. The team looked completely unprepared. I know we had a lot of guys injured, so that's like even for us said. But the good thing about the season is that obviously the defense got turned around. We had that winning streak of 5 games, which is really positive. But yeah, what was your feeling about the season overall? I mean, I feel quite sort of mixed about it's been great this last sort of 6 weeks, but the first sort of 4 games, if we'd have performed better in the first 4 games, then we might have been in that playoff race proper this time.
Yeah, for sure. Well, there's so many ifs and buts, isn't it? It's like everything, really. And that's the thing I've noticed looking at a lot more of these things that this season, especially for this now doing the show, it's like I started looking more and more into the sort of details. Is the gaps between teams isn't really that much, and I know that it's fine. It's really fine margins. It's like PJ says it before on their Thursday night show, isn't he? He said that's about the details. It's the getting the little bits right.
Yeah.
And like Swifty's mentioned in his last show was about and everyone's noticed it, was sending Trent Taylor to block Rashawn Gary for a running play around the outside. You want 5 foot, what is he, 5 foot 875 pounds to block one of the biggest pass rushers in the league. Yeah, seriously, you couldn't have put Mercedes Lewis in there, maybe, or it's like sending tiny little Trent Taylor to go and block this monstrous. He's like 100 pounds heavier than him. It's like just these stupid things like that. So it's these tiny things like and as you said before, there's so many little pieces that go into it, so many small parts that have to come together, which is why you have to build more of the team, around it all. And you need the little things to go your way. Sometimes it's luck with injuries. It's such, there's so many pieces that have to come together to make a winning season. And any given Sunday, and we've seen some big shocks this year. We saw some real ups and downs, and this has been a season full of those. I think more so, I feel than usually. I don't know. To me, it's how it feels anyway. But with some crazy games, with blowouts from different teams scoring whatever. Like Miami destroyed Denver, and Denver beat Kansas City, and then all these kind of like weird results. So it's on. It is cliche any given Sunday, and it really annoyed. Yeah, you're right that they didn't come into the season ready. I think you need to. I don't like the idea of resting your star players, your first team for too much of preseason, because you want them getting in their stride. You want them getting into their stride.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference, isn't it? We turned up on that day one, and Green Bay looked so much more prepared than we did. It was pretty poor. And it's kind of like fine margins. It's those little things. We talk about how close we would have been, and to be fair, having had an 0-4 start to a season, to be in with the shout of the playoffs, as slim as it was, like Mike, really tiny, thin, slim chance of the playoffs going into week 17, 2 games to go. That shows kind of how they turned it around, which is why it's probably even more disappointing the way it ended, So, it was a pitiful start, followed by a hell of a run in the middle of the season, the big turnaround, a great signing, obviously, in Montez Sweat, who has now, I think, first time in NFL history, led 2 teams in sacks defense. So fair play to him. We all know it's everyone knows the difference he's made, which is why we now need someone on the opposite side, to really help complete that sort of that front 4. Again, we'll talk about we have got all off season to talk about the draft and free agency and stuff. So I'm sure we will at some point have a bit of a show about just chatting about that. But yeah, the season, it's been a roller coaster, man. It's been and another shout out to Cairo, has scored the most. They got the most field goals in the season. He beat Robbie Gould's record of 33. Now with 30, we got 35 this year. So well done to him. So there are positives. Yeah, there's still a lot to be positive for.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I was just going to say, Jason. I was just going to say, Jason. I mean, how far off do you think the Bears are? Because I think it showed a lot on the game on Sunday how far we are from competing against decent opposition. I know we beat Detroit, Don Burr, and we should have beat you twice. But like I don't, and you're going to be out the first game of the playoffs, so you can go fuck yourself and get out of our channel. But like, how far do you think we are? Do you think we're like just a couple of plays away, or do you think we need a complete rebuild, like a new head coach? We all know Mr. Shorty likes. I think somebody called Harbaugh. I think Shorty really likes this guy called Harbaugh for some reason. I've never heard of him as well, Jason. So, what would you like to see happen regarding? Because I think really it's what they decide with the coaching is going to sort of entail what we're going to do with the with a draft. You know what I mean? If they if they get rid of all the coaches, then that might mean like we might draft different, or we might get a quarterback and let Fields go, or if they keep Eberflus, does that mean we're going to keep Fields? So I mean, what would your sort of preferable option be?
Oh, bloody hell! I think. Well, as we said, I think we had a quick brief chat with him. We were shortly in the pre-show that with the way it ended. I mean, let's say an earlier episode we said, and I said perhaps controversially that if they kept winning, then you probably potentially keep all of them. Which maybe perhaps we could. Good idea, but not the way it ended. I think the way the season has finished, and I know you can't. And it isn't just one game that has changed my mind. It's because you have to look at the whole body of work. What you're looking at is momentum and how they build upon that and what they do about it, and knowing how to go into the season. Is that result at the weekend? Not the result, the performance at the weekend has basically, to me, it's put everything back on the table. So, and whatever it is, I wouldn't be surprised. The only one thing that would surprise me, and I'd be pretty horrified, is if Getsy came back. I think he's done because I'm now sick of him going backwards. Let's say I was hoping that he might be making progress. It's like you say, because you can't just let us all suffer, and then when they start to get better, get rid of them. So you need a bit of patience, and that's sometimes the problem is you need to just be patient. But 2 years of that, and I know it was a tear down. I understand all these things that have gone together, but the way it's ended, I think everything's back on. So when I listening to Shorty and talking with the other Dan yesterday. I kind of completely see the point of bringing Harbaugh in.
Yeah.
I looked at his record. I looked at his record as a coach, and he does, as Shorty said it, he's won wherever he's gone. And the link with Kaepernick and the similarities to Fields. You think, because to my mind, is the opportunity of what we can build. Poles has said he'll build through the draft, so the opportunity to get so much draft capital from this number one pick. So much draft capital, so you could field another chance with Harbaugh. And this is, I'm not saying this is what I want to happen. I'm not saying it'd be the best thing, but I'm saying it just makes sense that you trade that number one pick, you get extra draft picks in the first round for the next perhaps 2 years. There's a scenario where you could have even have three first round picks next year, and then potentially more in the following year. It depends who you trade with, and got to be smart. But and I think Poles is. So there's a potential where we could have a whole bucket full of first round picks for the next 2 seasons after this one. So we could bring Harbaugh in, a guy who knows how to use a quarterback like that. And again, I'm not saying this is what I want to happen. I'm just saying the logic that for Shorty was saying made sense to me. Yeah, not exactly. And it would, I can see the point. And the problem is, this is why, because there's so many different pieces that have gone wrong. So we're nothing is set. And because of that, that's why we're all arguing amongst ourselves, Bears fans, is that I think we should do this. If you listen to someone's case, generally, most of them, you kind of think, well, I can see why you're saying that. So, and that's the problem, is there's no definite way to go, which would be easy if we knew we just had 1 or 2 pieces missing. But there were question marks over the coach, Fields, the talent on the team. It's just, So I kind of think that would build through the draft, get a haul, and then next year, if Fields really doesn't work out with more talent from this draft and off season, then perhaps you think, well, okay, Jim, Coach Harbaugh, who do you want as quarterback? And by the way, we've got extra first round picks. If you want to trade up and get someone you really like, who's to say? I'm just a fan, mate, just like you. So I don't know. It's going to be crazy off season.
My sort of thoughts really, regarding Harbaugh is, he's a winner. You know what I mean? Like, I look at, I was sat there this afternoon, I was thinking, can I really vision Eberflus taking the Bears to a Super Bowl? And I just can't see it. I can see him like maybe having like a great season and then it just sort of dropping off after that. But I like Dan's go big or go home sort of thing, and I do understand that. But I do see the other side of the equation where, this coaching staff has doubled the wins. The defense has got better, but it's the offense, and the offense has not made the strides we're all hoping this season. And Jim Harbaugh, he's an offensive guy. He's a Bears ex-player. He looks up to Mike Dictor as that's what he wants to be. I know people say this is like he's sort of the job he's always wanted is to be a head coach of the Bears. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of people go, well, he's a bit he's a bit crazy and he does things in a different way. But I quite like that because sometimes you just need somebody to ruffle their feathers. And
Yeah.
I also feel like sometimes if we keep ruthless, so we just accepting mediocrity. And maybe we should just go big and take a swing at it because look at the results we've had over the last 3 years. What are we going to be losing? We're not losing like we're not a team that's right near the playoffs. We've still got a long way to go. And when you look at like the amount of games we've lost compared to the amount of games we've won over the last 2 years of Eva Plus, it's terrible.
Mm.
I know we got rid of a lot of talent and they were stripping it down, but at the end of the day, results are results. It's a result business. That's what it's all about is winning games against that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like you, mate. I think this off season is going to be really, really interesting. I think
Gonna
a
be
lot of
crazy.
people's careers
Mm.
is going to be on the line during this off season. But I do know that Getz has got to go, mate. Regardless if you keep Plus or not, that
Yeah.
dude's got to go because I feel like he's holding Fields back. I don't feel Fields really has had any decent real coaching since he's been at the Bears. I really do. Nagy wanted to sit him, Nagy, and then Nagy puts him in game situations. What's rude, like when that first game against Cleveland, sorry,
Mm.
you know, he was running a scheme like he was Andy Dalton, and he's not Andy Dalton, and he got absolutely murdered. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I can understand as well the argument of having some consistency, not always having a changeover every 2 years, because all you're
Mm.
doing is putting another coach in, and then if that don't work out, you flip flopping all the time. But
Yeah.
maybe this is the opportunity to get somebody like Arbog and just go. But because I know like a lot of people say, well, the McCaskies, they don't like him as a person or whatever. Well, maybe the McCaskies got to put this part away and realise that business is business, and it's about getting the most wins for the Chicago Bears. And if our board does it, then awesome. I mean, I know I just want a coach what's been there, done it, and prove that he's a winner. And even plus, I know he's learning, and I always thought it was absolutely ridiculous that they brought in like even plus as a head coach, he'd never done it before. We brought in an offensive coordinator who'd never been an offensive coordinator in the NFL before. We brought in a D offensive coordinator who'd never done it before, a new GM. And I just kept thinking, this is not adding up to to me for like a quick turnaround for the Chicago Bears. And you got all these people learning on the job. And it's a sort of industry where you can't do that. You just don't have that time because it's such a short season. It's only 17 games,
Yeah. It's
which is
crazy.
nothing compared to like British. Not compared to British sport, where even like rugby they play, well into the 30 game mark. Soccer play 40 odd games. So like you've already got these 17 games, so you don't have time like we did at the start of the season, losing 4 games in a row. So I
Yeah.
just find I'm sort of like stuck in the middle really because I can see both sides of the argument.
Yeah.
But I like winners. I like people who won it. He's just won a national championship, in the college game, and he's won in the NFL, and he played for the Bears for 6 years. And I just think if it's just out of personalities, I just think that's so sort of unprofessional. If that's getting in the way of him getting a job at the Chicago because people don't like his personality, I couldn't give a shit about his personality. If he wins, who cares? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Mike Dictor put a lot of people's backs up in the 80s, but he won a winner. You know what I mean? And we should have won more Super Bowls in the 80s. We should have been like the 49ers won the 80s. We should have been that dynasty. But they made some bad decisions by letting players go on the defense, like Wilbur Marshall, etc. So
Yeah.
I can see both sides of the story. And it's also like, how much longer we're going to wait for things to change. Maybe this is the moment. If we do get this guy, and this could work out. You know what I mean? Rather than being overly conservative and just plodding on. But I can see both sides. I'm so glad I'm not making that decision because I'm just being numerous times. I'm just being sat there going, well, yeah, I think if I can see that, yeah, I can see, like you said, Jason, I can really see that sort of side of the argument, and I can see the progression the team's made. But then I keep thinking, but what are we really losing by changing things? We're not winning. enough games to get us to where we want to go. So why not make the change? Like you say, Jason, we've got all this like draft capital coming up. Maybe for the next couple of years, if we can, Paul's keeps trading. I just think, I hope it doesn't down to people's egos, which is stopping something like this happening. Because that would be so unprofessional and such a, it'd be such a bad thing to happen to the Bears. But yeah, it's just going to be, and also as well, I think as well, who they decide to bring in as coach, is going to make a massive difference about Justin Fields as well. If they get rid of everybody, then does that mean they're going to get rid of Justin Fields? So they start with a new quarterback with a new offensive coordinator, or are they going to get rid of everybody and keep Fields? It's there's so many sort of different sort of things what need to line up to make it a success. And I just think this offseason is going to be absolutely fascinating. And I think really this offseason, the decisions what are going to be made could affect the Bears as a franchise for the next 5 or 6 years. I really do, positive or negative.
Agreed. Yeah, because
so
you can't
do it. Yeah. Go on, Jason. No,
yeah, I was gonna. Sorry, just the thing is because it takes time to build these players, and you because of the salary cap, because of the they talk about the window, don't they? Once you get into the window of your Super Bowl window, you've spent time building this team up, building this franchise, because you're limited. You can't just throw money at it, buy all the stars, and win the league. It's not how it works. You have to time and your contracts, and this is the way the clever GMs do it. Is they get people on good deals, and you have to build a team with all the pieces for the right money, and you can't keep. I think I've already read somewhere about that. The 49ers are kind of starting to feel the pinch of the salary cap now because they've built this superstar team, and they're not going to be able to hold on to them. I mean, it's why Washington had to get rid of Chase Young and Montez Sweat. That's because they couldn't afford to pay all four of that defensive front top money. You can't do it. You can't spend half your budget on 4 players. So you have this window, and that's what I worry about a little bit. As you know, this is a paranoid Bears fan, that we're building this defense into what is going to be a championship defense. It's not far off. Say one edge, one edge rusher, a new safety, and a couple of other pieces, perhaps defensive tackle, or just some cover, another cornerback maybe, and that is not far off. So we can. I think is going to focus on the offense on this offseason because obviously that's where we're falling short. And I think that this is why you kind of you build all the pieces and don't keep throwing all of it out together. I think they won't. You're right. They won't get rid of. They won't. I don't think they're going to get. To me, I don't know. Maybe they will. Again, I don't know. It's doing my head in already. But to get rid of all the coaches and Fields, and you're bringing in a new quarterback, a new head coach, a new offensive coordinator. I mean, seriously, this is the players clearly love Justin Fields. They love playing for him. So, and I know that doesn't mean that you have to keep him regardless. But at the same time, if you're going to get rid of all the coaching staff, are you then going to sort of undermine a lot of the locker room sort of camaraderie too? It's such a fine line between success and failure in this department. And I mean, I trust Poles. I really think we're lucky. We've got. I think he's a great general manager. And again, I've not really seen much of how him and Kevin Warren work together. I think didn't Kevin Warren have a bit of an issue with Jim Harbaugh when he was in college? But again, if we're all grown-ups and we want success for the Bears, then this kind of stuff needs to be put up. You need to be a bigger man and say, actually, that was in the past. Let's just get on with it. I trust you. And this is where you have the chats, you have to get in the same room and you just talk it out. And because you have to sometimes just say what your differences are. You've got to be upfront and honest to each other. And that's part of the interview process in my book. You've got to understand the man you're working with next to you. And just to know what they believe, what their passions are, what their values are, how they think their future is. And whether it can work. And I think you've just got to sort of big enough to say, that's in the past, but I think I like what you bring to the table, and I'm willing to work with you. And you just have an honest and frank relationship, and that's what I'd love to see. So, and I think partly I agree kind of with Shorty that it feels a bit like if we miss out. But again, you shouldn't be making decisions for the franchise like this. If you miss out on Harbaugh this year, you'll go to the Chargers maybe, or and you miss out on potentially something that could be franchise altering. But like you say, there's just so much to think about that it blows my mind. And anyone who thinks they know the answer is basically full of shit, because you don't. Because there's so many pieces. Someone go, just get Kelly Williams, and what? So he's going to be brilliant. Is he being pressured 50% of his dropbacks like Fields was last week? You think that? Yeah. It's just there is no straight
it's not
answer.
going to make any difference.
Yeah.
So I think as well. I like what you're saying, Jason. I want the Bears to sort of investigate every situation, every prospect coach. I like, people are going, over the last 2 days, how come we not heard anything about Getsy? How come we not heard anything about Eberflus? I don't mind the way. I just want the Bears to do a thorough job about who's going to be the right guy for the jobs.
Yeah.
That's all I'm bothered about. And if it takes, I know they got to make like an end of year statement before the end of this week, like a presser. But the season only finished 2 days ago. You know what I mean? So like, I don't mind them taking time on fields. I don't mind them taking a bit of time on the coaching, because this is all franchise changing decisions. Do you know what I mean? And it's sort of it's the decisions what could affect the club for a long, long time coming. So I'm quite patient in waiting for the decisions to be made, really, because I'd rather them take a bit of time rather than just rushing it just for what the public want. Because the public we're not always right. We don't we think we know what we're on about, but we're not
idiots.
There. We're not in the offices. We're idiots. We're meatheads. But we're not in the locker room. We're not in the training field. We're not in the front office. Do you know what I mean? We think we know how things work, but we don't. We do and we don't, sort of thing. You know what I mean? So I just think it's going to be absolutely fascinating this off season. And it's just been one of them seasons where it's been really sort of dramatic and sort of pulling on your heartstrings, especially at the start of the season. I was so sort of upset and sort of deflated, how we first started in 4 games. And, I just wanted to get rid of everybody. And it was so nice to see some sort of improvement. Like, I do feel like the coaching are improving the players, which I never felt Nagy really sort of got round to doing, really.
Oh, you said it.
Yeah. God. Can't believe it, man. We nearly went over an hour without mentioning the ball fuck.
Yeah.
But so what we'll do is we'll wrap the show up. We're definitely going to come back in the off season at some point. Either after the draft or if there's some sort of big news what comes on over the next sort of couple of weeks, we'll definitely do a show, Jason. And on a personal level, I just want to sort of thank everybody who got me to Chicago this season. Really, it was an experience I'll never forget, and everybody was so generous with the time when I was there, and people who put money towards it, and Dan, who Dan's like my best friend now. We're like brothers, and I met so many cool people who are in Chicago, and the experience absolutely amazing. So I just want to thank everybody, on BCP who helped me get to Chicago, and meeting PJ and meeting Foster in person was just awesome. And and it was just so nice to sort of speak to people face to face who I've done shows with for over 2 years. And it was like one of the best experiences of my life. And I hope you get that chance to come to Chicago and get to Soldier Field, Jason, because it's something what stays with you, man. Because it's I don't know if you like me, I never thought I'd actually get there. You know what I mean? For certain reasons in my life, I never thought I'd ever get there. And just when you're there and you're surrounded by fellow Bears fans, especially us in the UK, where the NFL is a minority sport, compared to soccer and rugby and cricket and athletics or whatever. But it's such nice to actually be in the home of the sport, and it's been an absolute joy. Yeah, that's what the aim is, Jason. I'm gonna get back over for Dan's 50th at the end of the season. So
Let's do it.
Yeah, but I mean that'd be amazing if we got there at the same time. Even if we don't, you'd have an absolutely awesome time. And I'm sure a lot of the guys who live in Chicagoland and meet up with you and show you the ropes and all that sort of thing. So just from a personal sort of side of it, I just want to thank everybody for that, because it was just one of the best times of my life, and to actually get onto the field itself as well. That was all down to Lynn Hayden, who sent letters to the Bears and to the TV channels and stuff like that. And meeting Cliff as well, that was just absolutely awesome. And beating his mate Curtis in drinking competitions. that was awesome as well. Apart from the day after, I was absolutely dying on my arse. That was the only downside of it. But yeah, it was just awesome, and I really hope you get the chance to go, Jason, because I've been to the Wembley games, the regular season games, and it still felt like, it were British people pretending to be Americans, and it wasn't on the same scale as when you go to an actual NFL game in America. So I really dearly hope you get to a game next season, and it'd be even better if I were there with you, mate, because that would be absolutely awesome. So that's just my little shout out regarding this season. I don't know if there's anything more you want to add at all, Jason.
Not really. No, just making me jealous. Obviously, yeah, I know. We know the new stadium. The new stadium's in the offing, and I want to definitely get to Soldier Field before they go from there.
Yeah,
it's where I know the Bears, from and playing there, and it's just Soldier Field, isn't it? So yeah, I want to go. We've got to go. So yeah. I will. I'm saving up already. Got a few other little holidays planned or whatever. But definitely, I'm already saving the pennies up to try and get over there. It'd be an absolute blast to get out for Shorty's birthday. My partner's birthday is in December as well, though, so that may be I'll have to do get some points in the bank for that one, or bring her with me, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see. But that would be amazing. Yeah, to be able to go out and if we could do it at the same time, it'd be awesome. But I'd love to go and meet all these guys in person and have a beer with them, and we'll see how it goes. But just thanks for the show. Thanks for doing the show, mate. It's just suggested it. Excuse me. After I appeared on the main show. Which I was a bit nervous about it, but it's been fun. It's good to chat. I wish we had a bit more time to go through some of the questions in the chat, but maybe that we can do that another time. But I think, over the off season, we'll get together. Go ahead, mate.
Yeah. No, Jason. If there's some questions you want to answer, I mean, I'm not in a rush. So if there's anything in chat you want to go through, then please go. Let's do it.
I think there wasn't. Nothing now. You put me on the spot again. But I think it's just that I think Mark Kazak asked about. Walt said about personality is key. You can't gloss over that. And looking at wins alone is narrow-minded, which is true. You never get the whole story of a person. That just goes back to what you said about we're not in the building. We don't know half of what goes on between these people in the locker room and the front office. So we're just trying to give our view from what we see on the outside, really. So Mark Kazak, I think it was, said, is anyone worried that we've not heard anything from the front office? And again, I think you replied to that. You said that. I'm happy that they haven't, because you don't want like knee-jerk reactions to people just like, the season's over, you're fired. Actually, I want them to take their time. It means they're talking to each other, they're talking to the team, talking to the staff, the players, everyone, and each other about making some decisions. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, I heard somewhere that I was polls at the Michigan game. Did polls go to the? So. Let's not put two and two together and get 15. But it's going to be an absolutely crazy off season. Let's do something together as things happen. And keep that.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, it's been an absolute joy getting to know you, Jason. It's so nice to actually speak to a fellow Englishman who knows his football like you do, and. We sort of our Bear fandom's been so similar. Like, when we first got into the Bears, and and how we look at the game, and it's been an absolute privilege to get to know you, mate. And it's like you said, if anything comes up over whatever through the off season, and if it's anything of importance and it's newsworthy and worth talk about, then we'll be definitely back on the screens. And obviously, anybody from Britain or Europe, then get onto the show, man. That's what the whole idea of the show is to give people who are not from America a chance to speak to an American audience and get their voice heard instead of just like little podcasts and all this sort of thing. So I just hope this program gets out to people. In off season, I'm just going to try and drum up as much interest as I can. Around Britain, to get people on the show. But yeah, it's been an absolute blast doing the show with you, Jason, and I'm so glad you've enjoyed it. And you're a natural, mate. Like after the first show, I thought, man, it's only his first show, man. You're just a natural. So it's been great to get to know you and to talk Bears football with you. So I think we'll leave that. I think we'll leave it today. And like I said, we'll be back if there's anything what comes up. And it's been an absolute blast, and I think we just need a bit of a bear down. So on 3, bear down. So 1, 2, 3, bear down.
Bear down.